The following video contains spoilers for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Also, apologies if I butcher any actor's name in this video. You guys asked for it, and so here we are looking at more Final Fantasy VII voice actors. Like last time, I'm not gonna badmouth any actors, and we're only looking at the English voices. Now, let's get started with everyone's favorite Wutai materia hunter, Yuffie. Yuffie has been portrayed by 3 different actresses. First being Christy Carlson Romano, who you probably know best for her role as Kim Possible. She portrayed Yuffie for Kingdom Hearts 1 and Advent Children.
Alright, who's been touching my materia? Oh!
Then, Mae Whitman took over the role. You probably know her for voicing Katara in Avatar: The Last Airbender. She began voicing the character for Kingdom Hearts 2, and kept the role for Dirge of Cerberus and Kingdom Hearts 3.
I seriously thought you were a goner, but then the wound healed itself right up. You were always different, but I guess that's why you're still breathing.
Then, for Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission, Susie Young would take over the role, and has since returned for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Interesting. So, I gotta come to you, do I? You got some nerve.
Let's start off with Christy, and I like her voice for Advent Children.
Cloud, I brought you materia. Whoa! Hey, watch it!
It sounds really good despite her lack of screen time. But for some reason, Yuffie is a lot more dialed back in Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, you're slipping, Leon.
It's a strange choice in my eyes, and it kind of holds Christy back. I feel like she could have played the character a lot better if she was given proper direction. I know that Kingdom Hearts writes the Final Fantasy characters to be different from their original appearance, but writing Yuffie this way is a strange choice to me.
Yeah, we had to get it away from you to shake off those creatures. It turns out that's how they were tracking you.
Especially since she would go back to her energetic self in Kingdom Hearts 2, where Christy did not return to the role. Instead, Mae Whitman took over as Yuffie.
Hey, you guys! I see you're still in top form.
This is much better. Whitman's got a great energy as Yuffie. She brings this dynamic to Yuffie, this little sister energy, where one moment you find her absolutely intolerable, and the next, you find yourself absolutely rooting for this character.
Yuffie Kisaragi! Feast your eyes on... Ow!
Whitman is great as this character. The only major thing wrong is that she wasn't able to play the character for a large amount of time. After 2006, she wouldn't reprise the role again until Kingdom Hearts 3's Remind DLC, where Yuffie is pretty much a cameo, and afterwards, she would be recast along with the other Final Fantasy VII actors for Remake. As for Yuffie's appearance in Remake, she would be portrayed by Susie Young.
You won't regret this, or my name isn't Yuffie Kisaragi!
Like the previous voices, Young is great in the role. Part of the reason is that unlike the previous voices, she is given ample time to make Yuffie her own. One of the things she does is make Yuffie sound younger than the previous interpretations, which makes sense, as the previous versions had Yuffie past the timeline of the original game. Aside from that, Young also manages to carry over the little sister energy that Whitman brought to her time as the character, and in some aspects, pulls it off even better.
Members of Avalanche! With your full support, we got this! So, members of Avalanche, where are you?
Now, the last thing to mention is that since Yuffie has never been given a large role before the Remake series, she hasn't been allowed to have any truly great character moments. But Remake and Rebirth change that, and Young pulls those moments off wonderfully.
This is just wrong.
So to summarize my thoughts, I think all three actresses did a good job playing Yuffie. If I had to pick a favorite, it would probably be Susie Young, by a very slim margin. I think if Whitman came back, she would have absolutely killed it in the remake series. But Young has nailed the character, and I'm looking forward to seeing more Yuffie in Remake Part 3. Next up is Red 13, who was first portrayed by Liam O'Brien for Advent Children, but would be replaced by Max Mittelman for the remake series. Before I even show clips of the two actors, I'm just gonna say it. Max is the better fit for Red in my opinion. And this simply comes down to the fact that Liam only portrayed Red for a single line.
There are still children with the stigma.
That's it. I'm not even kidding. This is the only line Red was given between 2006, when Advent Children came out, and when Max Mittelman would take over the role in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I am that which you see before you, nothing more. I'd appreciate it if we simply left it at that. Agreed?
Again, Liam O'Brien is a fantastic actor, but Max was simply given more to do as the character. He's great as Red, and has managed to give the character more depth thanks to the additional story that Red is given in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This includes the revelation of Red's real voice.
Oh, don't say that. You're only making this harder. I mean, I wish we had more time, but this is my duty.
I was genuinely shocked when I heard this, as Max does a great job when Red uses his deeper voice, but when Red brought out his almost childlike voice, it surprised me as I was unaware of Red's true nature. It helped me enjoy the character more, as well as Max's take on the character. Again, I'm sure Liam O'Brien would have done a great job if he was allowed to continue, but I think Max Mittelman has done a great job with making Red a standout character. Then, there's Cid. And this one's a bit complicated, as these two interpretations, at the moment, are almost completely different. As the first Cid actor, Chris Edgerly, who played the character starting with the original Kingdom Hearts, plays the character closer to the original Final Fantasy VII, by giving the character a more sarcastic and brash personality.
She's a beauty. My Sheriff, the latest model. I'll give you the grand tour afterward.
Whereas J. Michael Tatum, who has taken the role for Rebirth, has given the character a softer, kinder tone with his performance.
Hop on board and sit where I tell you. Gotta make sure my baby's balanced just so.
I understand their reason for this change though, as, let's face it, in the original, Cid's introduction doesn't paint him in the best light. So clearly, they made a change to give Cid a more appealing personality right out of the gate, which in turn translated to his voice direction, which is why he comes off so differently compared to Chris Edgerly. The only thing they have in common with their portrayals is the southern accents.
Be quiet! I'm trying. I'm this close to something, I know it!
Hey, y'all are headed to the saucer, ain't you? I might could tag along, take in the splendor. What do you think?
Now, I might surprise you by saying this, but I think I prefer Chris Edgerly for Cid's performance. What it came down to for me is that Edgerly has more of a raspiness to his voice.
Oh no, that's just the data I constructed based on Sora and his fighting abilities.
I appreciate that more, as it feels more in line with Cid's personality. While I enjoy Tatum's performance of Cid, there is more of a softness to his voice compared to Edgerly.
Now, I know I came with y'all this far, but I ain't about to go in there. Sorry, folks.
So yeah, for once, I preferred the OG voice actor compared to the remake voice. Though, let me make it clear, I do enjoy Tatum in the role, and I think that with Part 3, he may only get better, but for now, Edgerly is my preferred voice for Cid. Now let's talk about Cait Sith. Greg Ellis began voicing the character for Advent Children, and would reprise the role one more time for Dirge of Cerberus.
That was a close one! I never was good at fighting. Luckily, I came out wearing Reeve.
Cait Sith would make his big return in Rebirth, where Paul Tinto would take over the role.
Hello again. Nowhere to stay? Did you want one suite or two?
You trying to scam us?
I wouldn't dream of such a thing, and to prove it, I'll foot the entire bill myself.
I'm not going to beat around the bush. Paul Tinto is my preferred voice for Cait Sith. Greg Ellis isn't bad, but he has so few lines as the character that Paul takes it by simply having more to go off as the character. But there's more reasons than that. I love Paul's thicker Scottish accent that comes through when he's voicing Cait. I also love the showmanship that comes through, showing off his theme park employment.
What do we have here? A man with a rain cloud over his head. So how about a reading to clear those somber skies? Whether it be dark or bright, I'll read your future right. Just didn't go shooting the messenger, eh?
Also, this is a personal preference, but I found that Paul's take actually made me like Cait Sith more, because I wasn't a huge fan of the character in the original game. So all Rebirth had to do was adjust some of Cait's actions, and that would be enough. But they went further, and Paul's performance helped in that regard, in improving Cait's character. For me, this wasn't even hard. No offense to Greg Ellis, but Paul Tinto easily takes it for me. The next character won't be as easy for me, as now we're talking about Vincent Valentine. Legendary voice actor Steve Blum would begin voicing the character for Advent Children, and would return one more time for Dirge of Cerberus.
I come here often. I've seen what Kadaj's group is doing. The stigma. It's a symptom of alien matter infesting the body.
Then, for Rebirth, Matthew Mercer would take over the role.
Vincent Valentine. I'm... security.
Out of every voice I've done, this one is probably the hardest to pick my favorite. This is because both actors do a great job, but for different reasons. Steve Blum has a perfect voice for Vincent. His quiet but intense tone is perfect for the character. However, his voice never goes any louder, so if you're wanting to see Vincent go all out, you're not going to get it from Steve.
Reeve. Nice to see you again. Not a very interesting outfit, though.
To me, it sounds like Steve is mostly just speaking from the script while doing his voice for Vincent. Again, though, his voice is so good for the character that I just go with it. Matthew Mercer is definitely giving a full-on performance as Vincent. Mercer's Vincent has a flair for the dramatic, which is wonderfully delivered through his performance. It also helps that his voice, like Bloom before, is incredible.
Death doesn't suit a Turk.
Vincent is the one character where both actors are, in my mind, almost equal on every front. So really, who you prefer comes down to personal preference. For me, it's Steve Blum.
Heaven's Dark Harbinger, the Calamity, Genova. If they wanted to, they could recreate Sephiroth.
Here's the thing. I think Mercer is wonderful in the role, and hearing him discuss it and how he got the part has been a joy. But ultimately, I love Blum's voice and how it fits the character. Fun fact, this isn't even the first time I've brought up Steve Blum as Vincent, as I briefly mentioned my thoughts on him in my Games I Played in 2022 video. Only thing that I think is worth keeping from this game in the remake universe is Steve Blum as Vincent Valentine, as I think given proper voice direction, I think he could do a much better job than he does here. I still stand by that. I think if Steve Blum had been given the direction that Mercer has had, he could have been even better. But he wasn't brought back, so Matthew Mercer has stepped into the role. Now, I've said a lot for this video that I think these characters will get more development in Part 3, and that goes for Vincent as well. I can't wait for Vincent's past to be explored and to hear Mercer's performance in those moments. So overall, both actors for Vincent Valentine are great, and both do justice to the character. But there is a small part of me that misses Steve Blum in the role. Now, we can move on to the final two characters I'm going to talk about in this video, Zack and Sephiroth, possibly the most controversial recast out of everyone. We're going to talk about Zack first. Zack was first portrayed by Rick Gomez for Advent Children, but would really shine in Crisis Core and Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and he would return one last time for World of Final Fantasy Maxima.
Embrace your dreams, and whatever happens, protect your honor as soldier. Well, okay, you never made soldier, but it's what's in here that counts.
Before I discuss Zack's current voice, I want to talk about Rick and his time on the character. I'll mostly discuss his time on Crisis Core, since he obviously had the most time as the character there. Which is good, because Rick is amazing here. He pretty much shaped how everyone saw the character from that point to even this day. Because unlike a lot of characters I've discussed today, Zack is given a full character arc in Crisis Core, as he starts out the game having this almost childlike wonder about the things that he's seeing.
You'll charge the front gate and...
And?
Indulge yourself.
You got it. That's what I do best.
But by the end of the game, his voice has matured, and the way he sees things has also matured.
I'm with soldiers, so fighting's all I do. Sorting things out is someone else's job. What's going on? Who's the enemy? It makes no difference to me!
Rick portrays both sides of Zack wonderfully. He also does a great job in the scenes where Zack becomes angry, as the crazy things start happening around him.
Is that your idea of honor? What are you talking about? What's going on here?
The last thing to bring up from Rick's time in Crisis Core are the scenes with Aerith. These scenes are arguably some of the most important in the game, so the delivery of lines is super important, and once again, Rick nails these scenes.
Thank you so much, Aerith. I'm Zack. I have to repay you somehow.
Don't worry about it.
No. Hey, how about one date?
Zack is so earnest in these scenes. He delivers some super cheesy lines here, but you absolutely buy it due to Rick's performance.
You like them? Then take a closer look. Eyes infused with Mako energy. A soldier trademark.
He, along with Aerith's actress, Andrea Bowen, turn these moments into potentially the best scenes in the game. I think you get the point. Rick Gomez was perfect as Zack. Everything the character needed, Rick brought to the table and then some. Like I said, he pretty much defined the character of Zack, which is why when Caleb Pierce took over the role of Zack for a remake, and he sounded like this...
We drag our ass all this way. This is the welcome we get.
Fans were pretty mixed, to say the least. Honestly, I was mixed too, because let's compare his version of my favorite Zack line to Rick's version.
Boy, oh boy. The price of freedom is steep.
Boy, oh boy. The price of freedom is steep.
Now, I'm not sure what direction Caleb was given when delivering the line, but I disagree with whatever it was. Let me remind everyone that this is one of the last things Zack says before he dies, and Caleb is delivering the line like he's mildly disappointed. Also, I can't avoid just how different Caleb sounds compared to Rick. Remake obviously made a conscious effort to make the characters sound younger than previous portrayals, but Zack, to me, is the most apparent example of this change. This becomes even more apparent in Crisis Core and Crisis Core Reunion, when you directly compare more deliveries of various lines.
No way! I know what kind of guy Angeal is, and he'd never do that.
No way! I know what kind of guy Angeal is, and he'd never do that!
Listen, can I call you back later? I have some company.
Listen, can I call you back later? I have some company.
I will say though, Caleb does get better throughout the course of Crisis Core Reunion. In particular, his delivery of the final scene is miles ahead of the previous time he delivered that line.
Boy, oh boy. The price of freedom is steep. Embrace your dreams. And, whatever happens, protect your honor. As soldier!
Also, this might be a terrible take, but I think Caleb delivers this iconic meme better than Rick.
Me? Gungaga.
But that being said, comparing Caleb's performance in Crisis Core Reunion to Rick's performance in the original, Rick is still far superior in my eyes. That mainly comes down to the tone of his voice. Rick is older than Caleb, so he was able to make Zack maturing throughout the course of the game sound more natural, whereas Caleb's naturally younger sounding voice makes the maturing of Zack harder to notice. Now, if this video had come out before Rebirth, I would have ended it there. But Rebirth is out now, with Zack making quite a few appearances in the game. And I don't know what happened between Crisis Core Reunion and Rebirth, but Caleb improves dramatically here.
This is so messed up. All of it. But I'm back now, Aerith. I'm back.
I was blown away by Caleb's performance in Rebirth. Zack sounds so much older than his last appearance. And while he still sounds younger than Rick Gomez, Caleb still manages to make Zack sound like a mentor character to Cloud, which is needed as Zack is mentioned quite a lot by other characters in Rebirth. And all they do is shower him with praises, which means that when we see Zack, we need to believe he's the person that everyone believes he is. Caleb wonderfully delivers on this version of Zack.
I don't know. I wanted to take action. Take charge. Take control. To know that I had a choice. That this path, this world was one I chose. I wanted to take back my life.
He's so good in Rebirth that I noticed I wasn't missing Rick Gomez. Caleb has done it. He has finally managed to do full justice to the character of Zack, and make me not only accept him as the character, but fully love his take on Zack.
This is my life. I make the rules. See you never!
That being said, my overall favorite voice for Zack is still Rick Gomez. While Caleb has done a great job improving and making the character his own, Rick managed to get everything right from the beginning to the end. That being said though, I still love Caleb and can't wait to continue seeing him play the character. Then, there was one character left. The one-winged angel, Sephiroth. He's been portrayed by 3 different performers, starting out with Lance Bass from NSYNC. Yes, really. Now, with all respect to Lance for being the first English voice for the character, he's just okay.
I titled this. It ends here. Over here. Lost your way?
But still, credit due for setting the groundwork. The real discussion when it comes to Sephiroth is actually between George Newbern and Tyler Hoechlin. Now I'm actually going to change it up here, as I'm going to discuss Tyler Hoechlin's performance first. And he began playing the character for Final Fantasy VII Remake and has played the character for every appearance since.
7 seconds till the end. Time enough for you, perhaps. But what will you do with it? Let's see.
Compared to what came before, this is a very different take on Sephiroth. But that doesn't mean this is bad. Sephiroth in Remake and now Rebirth is a manipulator, and he toys with Cloud.
Let go of the past, Cloud. For the future is bright. We are to bear witness to the reunion of worlds.
I think Hoechlin plays with that idea of Sephiroth very well. We do get to hear some of that classic, deep, evil-sounding Sephiroth in Crisis Core Reunion, though.
Mother, they're here again. You should have ruled this planet. You were stronger, smarter, but then they came. Those inferior dullards.
Hoechlin sounds great here. Between his 3 main appearances, I would argue that this was his best performance as the character. But not his best scene. That would be this scene from Rebirth. Hoechlin's laugh here is perfect.
And so it begins. A confluence of worlds and emotions. Loss chief among them. However, you'll never see the truth with such clouded eyes.
Shut up!
After all, you're just a puppet.
He's doing his best to make Cloud feel as pathetic and as weak as possible, and I think Hoechlin does a great job in this scene. However, there's one problem with this performance, and there's not really a way to fix it. The problem is that he has to follow George Newbern as Sephiroth.
Good to see you, Cloud.
George is my favorite Sephiroth. It's not even a contest. George is so good as Sephiroth, from his very first appearance in Kingdom Hearts 2 to every appearance afterwards, he proves that he is perfect as this character.
The last thoughts of Geostigma is dead. Those remnants will join the life stream and girdle the planet, choking it, corroding it. What I want, Cloud, is to sail the darkness of the cosmos with this planet as my vessel.
He's so threatening as this villain. Every line that comes from him sounds like the most evil thing ever.
Mother, let's take back the planet together. I had an epiphany. Let's go to the promised land. Mother.
This is the reason I talked about Tyler Hoechlin before him. I wanted to say what Tyler did right, because he does a good job, but George's voice just sounds right whenever I hear him in the role.
Tell me what you cherish most. Give me the pleasure of taking it away.
I never felt threatened by Tyler's version of Sephiroth compared to George's version. To give a direct comparison, let's take these 2 scenes from Crisis Core Reunion and the original Crisis Core.
I am the chosen one. I have been chosen to rule this planet.
I am the chosen one. I have been chosen to rule this planet.
How dare you?
How dare you?
There is such a difference between these 2 voices for me. George Newbern just has this bass to his voice that it adds an extra layer to his depiction of the character. It makes me wonder, whenever I see Sephiroth in the remake series, how George would sound delivering these lines, because I feel like he would have only gotten better if he was brought back. Also, before anyone brings it up, yes, I'm sure part of the reason George, like the rest of the cast, were recast would be because they wanted a younger and natural-sounding voice for the character. But let me ask you, does this look like a character that needs a more natural-sounding voice? In my opinion, Sephiroth is the one character in the cast where you don't have to go natural with the portrayal. So casting an actor to do a more natural and younger-sounding voice just doesn't make sense for me. Sure, George's voice may have just seemed over the top to some, but to me, it perfectly fit. I'm saying a lot about this version of the character, but it all comes down to me saying that George Newbern was perfect as Sephiroth. While Tyler Hoechlin isn't bad as Sephiroth, he isn't George Newbern. Alrighty, that's the rest of the cast of Final Fantasy VII and their voice actors discussed. The only other people I can think of are like the Shinra employees, Genesis and Angeal, but I don't care enough about those characters. Sorry guys. Anyways, thanks for watching. My last video got a great response, and so this is only happening because you guys asked for it. So thank you. If you have any other suggestions for voice casts you'd like me to look at, let me know in the comments below. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.